Welcome back, True Seeker. Last night, the news broke that at the Minneapolis town hall, Ilhan Omar had an unknown substance sprayed on her by a protester. And this is the big story this morning in the nation as well. And of course, it comes on the back of all of the stories that have been coming out of Minneapolis. Again, this plethora of focus on Minneapolis kicked off the day after Christmas with the upload of the Nick Shirley Somali daycare fraud video. And then January 7th, we had the Renee Nicole Good killing on Portland Avenue a day before ICE protesters, or I shouldn't say protesters, but just a Venezuelan couple was shot by ICE, again, in Portland, Oregon, the city that had the longest protest for George Floyd, who was killed in Minneapolis. And now this weekend on January 24th, we have the killing of Alex Pretty in front of a donut shop, when, of course, Portland is known for voodoo donuts. And we all know where cops and donuts go together. And we know that slur for cops, pigs, when Renee Nicole Good was known for writing poems about dissecting pigs, one of which she won an award for, reportedly, in 2020, the year of George Floyd, when police departments were dissected all across this nation, including in my hometown of Portland, Oregon, where cuts were made. And as a result, Portland, a lot of it's still boarded up and people don't go downtown. And again, all of this stuff is agenda oriented. And my channel is about learning to see through the agendas and the obvious ritualism. It should be blaringly obvious to everyone what is going on in this nation, but it's not yet. And that has a lot to do with the internet and social programming and censorship and slave school, where people are literally programmed to have all the wrong thoughts and ideas in their head and believe too much in authority, and the media that lies to them every day, and the political parties that lie to them every day. Again, if you're right now someone caught up in Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretty and maybe now the Ilhan Omar thing, are you thinking that much about the memo that came out last Wednesday, a week ago, that says ICE is now authorized to conduct warrantless raids and searches based on a law from 1789 about people coming across the border who might be suspected of being illegal immigrants? I mean, that's quite a reach to go from something that was used at the border to now anywhere within the United States. ICE can go into somebody's property if they have suspicion that an illegal is there. That means your home, whether there's an illegal in it or not, could be raided by ICE at this very given moment. If they have suspicion an illegal's there, doesn't mean there's actually one there. They can come through your door right now. This is what is going on in this nation. And don't forget, when this administration took office, Elon Musk, he gave you the nice salute to remind you what time it was. And again, I'll touch on all that, but I just want you guys to learn to see through these operations. And really, if you don't know how to see through them yet, the symbolism is always the same. The patterns and ritualism are always the same. And if you don't know it yet, it means you haven't made any effort to learn how to see through this, which you really should have a long time ago. Again, people like Manly P. Hall, they gave us all the knowledge and information a century ago, the things that we really should have known about this nation. And they told us if we learn to recognize the signs and symbols, a veil will be lifted from our eyes. It is true. This wasn't just rhetoric written down in pages and spoken, as Manly P. Hall also said it. It was true. Manly P. Hall explained that this nation was founded by people who are part of secret societies that work by ritualistic practices. And the ritualism is so tired and repetitive. There are certain colors that are used all the time. There are certain things done with hands that are in the media all the time if you're paying attention. There are certain numbers that are used all the time, like 33. Remember, Renee Nicole Good shot between 33rd and 34th Street per the police chief there, O'Hara. And on Portland Avenue, a reference to Portland, Oregon in the 33rd state, where the next day after Renee Nicole Good, a 33-year-old man was shot by police. And then hours later, the report came out that Renee Nicole Good's killer was drugged by an illegal immigrant the summer prior, which made him a little bit testy around cars. and he had to get 33 stitches for that incident. And now they say Alex Pretty was the third person shot by ICE in 3 weeks in Minneapolis. The third in 3 weeks. You didn't hear about the middle one because they didn't die, but, well, and did anybody die? That's another fair question. But this 33 number, it's just always there in their psychological operations. And who's into 33? Isn't it the Freemasons? Isn't Washington, D.C. known as the Masonic City? Isn't there a 333-foot tall monument to George Washington in Virginia? Didn't George Washington pen a letter in the National Archives where the discussion is about the Illuminati, yes, a real thing, infiltrating Freemasonry, and what could come of Freemasonry being infiltrated by the Illuminati? Something founded by a Jesuit, when the Jesuits are an organization that was warned about by founders of this country as it was being established, namely Jefferson and Adams, who died together on the same day, coincidentally, July 4th, 1826. And then Monroe gave the same warnings, and he died on July 4th, 1826 days later. But look at this. Look at the black and white here in the photo. They got Ilhan Omar dressed in all black and white. This is Masonic symbolism, and it represents good and evil, which they have almost everybody falling for. They have a white guy dressed in all black, when this is very much about race. Again, it kicked off with Nick Shirley's upload by the numbers, which the Republican Party collaborated with him on, and of course it was retweeted by J.D. Vance and Elon Musk. The Mormon religion is inherently Masonic. It was founded by the Mason Adam Smith, Adam Smith's the father of economics, sorry. Joseph Smith, the Mormon founder who found the magical plates. And then it was brought to power in Utah by Brigham Young, who died 33 years after Joseph Smith. Go figure. And the Mormon religion, it's inherently racist. I know they've edited their books in recent years to have a broader, appeal. But what's the original Mormon belief? The closer to God you are, the whiter your skin is. So what does that say about non-white people? Oh, they're more distant from God. And funny enough, a lot of Christian nationalists who aren't really Christians at all, they have these similar racist beliefs. And they're eating up a video from Nick Shirley, a kid who walks around in magical underwear and thinks he's a good person as he contributes to MAGA, which is literally the highest degree of the Church of Satan. And it's not an accident. I hate people like, oh, that's a coincidence. It's not the same thing. Yeah, it is. And both political parties are in on it. Again, Obama told you on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, 45 days before Trump's birthday, that Trump would become number 45. And if you don't know that to be true, you're not doing your homework. April 30th, 2011, White House Correspondents' Dinner. Go watch Obama talking to Trump while Trump's in the audience about how he'll be number 45 with a scene showing of the White House lit up like a Trump casino. That was done on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan. Satan who comes to earth in a bolt of lightning in Luke 10:18. What's Barack mean? Oh, lightning. Weird. The other year, that weird story of the couple being killed by the White House from a bolt of lightning on Obama's birthday, August 4th. Were they really killed from a bolt of lightning? I mean, what is really going on? Again, something very evil. And again, black and white, the duality that's used by Masonry represents good and evil. Have you looked at the surname of this guy that supposedly sprayed the water bottle yesterday on Ilhan Omar? We're going to get to what a ritual this is, but have you looked at his surname and what it means? It's hard to believe that such a name would ever even exist. Look up the man's surname and what it means. In Polish, it means destroyer of peace. Weird. Destroyer of peace. What a last name. Yeah, here. I have trouble pronouncing it because it's one of these Polak names. Kazmierczak. It is derived from the Polish given name, Kazmierczak, which is composed of the Slavic elements to destroy, spoil, and mir, peace, world. So it can mean to destroy the world, to destroy peace. Often interpreted as, to be fair, it can also be interpreted one who brings peace or one who destroys peace. But it seems more that the destroys peace would be it, since the breakdown is destroy, spoil, and peace. So, but again, just the world of duality, which black and white is. And we see what's going on here. This is meant to bring about more chaos. Remember, the Masons celebrate that motto as well, order out of chaos. And you see, Ilhan Omar has kind of like, I'm a whoop that ass response, which I almost respect in a sense. As someone who's been out on the streets trying to educate people, you guys might have seen when I was out telling people about, hey, you better look up Event 201. You better look up what Bill Gates said 10 years to the day of cooties showing up in his backyard, where his foundation's across the street from the world's biggest needle. You might have talked about depopulation and how we can do it with, because he did. A lot of people didn't like that, and I got pelted with rocks by cars driving by. I got hit with slushies by cars driving by. I got hit with liquids like this that I didn't even know what the hell they were. It's not fun when people attack you, especially when they throw rocks at you from a moving vehicle. But yeah, so I can, but also understand that this is Ilhan Omar probably knew this was going to happen, because to be in our Congress or Senate, you got to be in the club. And where they got this guy from to do it, I guarantee you he wasn't chosen by accident. And this isn't just some random civilian that did this, because here's the beauty of what we teach day after day. And this is what I mean about learning to see through the ritualism. I've been here for going on 13 years, every single day, showing you how everything, and that's not an exaggeration, everything in your national news is propaganda and programming meant to serve agendas, meant to keep us divided, meant to keep people falling in the trap of the left or the right or the libs or the Republicans, and understand there really are no liberals at this point. Look up what the real definition of liberal is. And by the way, this country was considered to be liberal at the beginning by breaking away from the authoritarian church. The Catholic Church actually put out an encyclical when this nation was being founded, funny enough, on the Jesuit order's birthday, condemning the liberalism of the United States and how dare it break away and speak against the church, people like Jefferson and Adams. Again, for all you conservatives, really, this nation was liberal in the beginning. And the true definition of liberalism is open-minded and willing to change. And where would those things really ever be banned? Open-minded, is that a bad thing? No. Willing to change? Everybody should be willing to change, because the reason to be willing to change is if something's wrong and there's a reason for change. Anyway, let's go beyond just the name. Here's the beauty of what we do. Again, I learned about this from Manly P. Where did I put it? I learned about this from this book right here, Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. This book's almost 100 years old. Not this exact copy, but when it was originally written. This simple practice of coding numbers into words. Again, it's based on ABC is 1, 2, 3, up to Z is the 26th letter. There's 4 base ciphers, alphabetic order, reverse alphabetic order, and both orders with numerology applied. Look at how this man's name equals 127. When did this happen? This happened January 27th. 127. This is what goes on every day. Joe Rogan, for example, I know he was following my work in 2016 because he brought it up with Rosie O'Donnell. Man, have you seen this thing about words and numbers? Pretty interesting. Sam Tripoli, his wingman, has us on his show, Tinfoil Hat, multiple times. Sam Tripoli says this is the most mind-blowing thing he's ever come across. He says if there's a Mount Rushmore of truth seekers, you might be the first name on there. A few years later, Sam Tripoli's sort of downplaying this knowledge. Again, he got a special on the CW channel, and then he seemed to downplay it. But about a year back, he was on Joe Rogan again. And if you guys don't know Sam Tripoli, again, when Joe Rogan kicked off his podcast before it was the thing that it is now, he used to have Sam Tripoli on every episode. And Sam was, again, bringing up this knowledge and information, and Joe cuts him off. He's like, numerology numbers, that is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the truth community. Like, how could this ever be the bottom of the barrel? This is what it is when you get a $100 million contract to be broadcast on Spotify. Now you become part of the disinformation campaign. You put out the exact opposite of truth into the world. This is not the bottom of the barrel of the truth community. This is the top shelf, whatever you want to call it, scotch, whiskey, tequila. This is the top shelf, and it's so high up on the top shelf, it's just all by itself, and everything else is way below. That is the reality, because this is the thing that exposes what is going on every day. Not only does his name equal 127, can you see his age of 55? If you're not part of our decoding community, you don't understand how important that 55 is. Well, if you listen to my public streams, you've heard me talk about 55 with the ritualism in Minneapolis. By the way, the Alex Petty killing was just 55 days after Kristi Noem's birthday. But forever, we've called Minneapolis the 55 city, the 55 city, the 55 city a bazillion times. And I've even given it out to you guys for free, just talking about the world of rig sport. By the way, we cashed big time again last night, had the exact score correct again in the Utah Panthers game last night, all from this knowledge. Again, just there's so many benefits of this knowledge. Take advantage of the market, the crypto, the sports, not get pulled in by the psyops. That's why this is the top shelf by a million miles. But why do we call Minneapolis the 55 city? Here, let me just go to your basketball team real quick to make a point. You guys play in the Target Center. You're called the Timberwolves in Minneapolis. You all equal 55. This number hits so hard in games with the Timberwolves when they play in Minneapolis, and it plays for the other sports teams there as well. It plays in the news. All of this stuff is ritualism. Not to mention, Minneapolis also equals 127. The guy's name equals 127. Again, how does Minneapolis equal 127 and 55? If you're hung up on that, simple. Minneapolis equals 127 when you just take the alphabetic order. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. By the time you get to M, it's the 13th letter. I is the 9th, N is the 14th, N is the 14th, E is the 5th, A is the 1st, P is the 16th, O is the 15th, L is the 12th, I is the 9th, S is the 19th. You add that all together, Minneapolis 127, like January 27th, like how we write it in the U.S. You apply numerology to each letter. Now, M, the 13th letter, it's not 13 anymore. It's 1 plus 3 is 4. So M is 4. I is still 9 because it's already a single-digit number. N, the 14th letter, becomes 1 plus 4 is 5. So N is 5. E, the 5th letter, is 5. A is 1. P, the 16th letter, becomes 1 plus 6 is 7. O, the 15th letter, becomes 1 plus 5 is 6. L, the 12th letter, becomes 1 plus 2 is 3. I is 9. S, the 19th letter, becomes 1 plus 9 is 10. 10 becomes 1 plus 0 is 1. You add that up, Minneapolis 55, just like Timberwolves, just like Target Center. And just think, I mean, it's still years away, but just wait until it's the Timberwolves' 55th season. Probably be a real big year for the T-Wolves, their 55th season, because that's how this stuff works. And as I pointed out, Satan also equals 55. No, it doesn't mean Minneapolis is the home of Satan, or if you live in Minneapolis, you're Satan. That's not what it means. It means these people put rituals together with that. Remember, the symbol of Satan since 1968 has been the downwards pointing 5-pointed star, thanks to Anton LaVey. We pointed out how in the Renee Nicole Good killing, in the home with the dinosaur on the front yard, in the window, if you look, there's a downwards pointing 5-pointed star. And I also pointed out, isn't it 5 years and change since George Floyd, which they're comparing this to? Didn't George Floyd get killed in the 5th month? Some 5s. We talked about this, weeks ago. Now here we are again. And again, the Alex Pretty killing was just 55 days after Kristi Noem's birthday. Kristi Noem, who's, pouring fuel on the fire, born November 30th. From her birthday to January 24th, 55 days. Don't forget, from her birthday to the Renee Nicole Good killing was 38 days. And that was after Nick Shirley uploaded the Minnesota video exactly 38 weeks after his birthday, which goes on the back of George Floyd being killed on the corner of 38th Street. See how Kristi Noem's name equals 133 and 52, also like Minnesota in the base ciphers, but also 38? See how Minnesota's 110? Remember the national protests that were quickly organized from coast to coast for January 10th, 110? On and on and on. This is how the ritualism works. All of this stuff is planned out. Again, who gave us the calendar and the language? The Jesuits. Where's the Jesuit recruiting center for the Midwest region of the United States? Oh, right next to the governor's mansion in Minnesota. Remember last year when there were those political assassinations? The 2 politicians got killed from the Farm Workers Party? Remember the Jesuit fingerprints were all over that. Remember when the Catholic school, Annunciation School shooting happened? Oh, the Jesuit fingerprints were all over that. Just like they're all over this. Just like they were all over George Floyd. Again, the Jesuits are the daddies of modern Freemasonry. They were warned about when this nation was created. They've always been involved in politics. Same with other Catholic orders like Opus Dei. Again, it's not just the Jesuits, but the Jesuits are the tip of the spear. They are responsible for the language and the calendar. And again, they got their recruiting center right next to the governor's mansion, Tim Walz. But this is how it works day in and day out. Don't forget, Nick Shirley's name equals Minnesota. We covered this. The upload exactly 38 weeks after his birthday on December 26th, coordinated with the Republican Party. And remember, again, you guys should be watching me, not anybody else. I told you before it went viral about how dumb he was in the Channel 5 interview. I told you he has no vocabulary. He has no knowledge of anything. It's like watching a little kid. Again, I think Nick Shirley's education level is probably on par with maybe a third or fourth grader. And consider that this is a kid that grew up in a rich neighborhood. Usually you grow up around wealthy parents in a wealthy neighborhood. Usually you have higher grammar because of your parents and your surroundings and more educated people. There's something really strange about how dumb Nick Shirley is. He's an abnormality in terms of how dumb he is. And, I've been pointing this out for a year because he's been getting promoted more and more in the algorithm. And he's been sitting down at the table with Donald Trump and invited to the White House and at the White House's dinner on the eve of the inauguration. I've been saying, who is this kid really? The CIA and the FBI like to recruit from the young Mormons because they're so straight edge. If you've ever auditioned for a job for the FBI, I've never auditioned for a job for the CIA. I nearly took a job with the FBI out of college as an auditor because my undergrad's accounting. But the reason I didn't do it is because I could have never passed their lie detector test. I went to Arizona State and had a little bit too much fun with the white powder. They don't hire people like that, no matter if you have all the other attributes. But the point I'm making is they like to hire kids like him because they aren't messing around with things like, the green ganja and the white powder. They want the straight edge, I believe everything Big Brother says to me types of people. And for good reason. If I'm working for the FBI, I'm like, wait a minute, you've assigned me to bust some lowly poor Somalis. I'm watching my government here declare pandemics over the seasonal flu and knock down towers and start 20-year wars. I mean, these are the kind of scams I really want to audit and get behind. I'm not worried. I mean, I don't like that my tax money might be going to some scammers of any kind, whether they're Somali or Americans or anything else. But that's so petty and ridiculous to me. That's not where my mind is. And all you guys who are so caught up in Nick Shirley and his magical underwear and whoever Dave going on and saying, I really think this Somali daycare fraud is the greatest scam in the history of the country. It's just, any of you guys falling for that, you just got to be brain dead. Again, your government just shut down your way of life over the seasonal flu. And if you don't know that, well, you should look up what Corona was coined as in 1968, because it was literally coined as seasonal flu. You just never heard it called that until they brought about the pandemic. Ooh, this new term, Corona, which, by the way, equals 33. Anyway, we won't even get into it. Remember, the Corona has to do with the eclipse around the sun. And what day did the cootie shot go live in the U.S.? Oh, on the day of the eclipse in the Pope's country, Argentina. And by the way, this knowledge, we had Argentina to beat France in the World Cup the day after the Pope's 86th birthday, because Argentina hadn't won it since 86 and never before had the World Cup ended in December, and all roads lead to Rome. And again, knowing the knowledge helped people make tens of thousands of dollars, off small bets. The value of this knowledge, like I said, top shelf. Tippy top shelf is where this knowledge is at. Tippy top shelf. Tippy top. The very tippy top. Now, here, let's get more into the Masonic thing here because, again, I think we've already covered it pretty well, but not well enough because there is more to uncover. Again, the guy in black spraying the woman in white in black as a white person versus a black person. Like Masonic symbolism's all about black and white. Again, his name's 127 like Minneapolis, but what else is 127? We're going to come back. Again, I covered this yesterday, but we'll come back to that. Look at this. From the Nick Shirley video being uploaded, because all of this is following that, right? That's the start point of all this surge of negative energy and divisive energy in Minneapolis. Literally, you could argue a society of people who are hypnotized or retarded. It's one of the two, following a kid who's borderline retarded, and I've been telling you that for over a year. I didn't need the Channel 5 interview. Like, oh, did you see how dumb Nick Shirley looked? Have you guys ever watched Nick Shirley on the street? He literally knows nothing about anything, and people say things to him like, I was being sarcastic, and he'll be like, what did he mean, sarcastic? Like, first of all, it's like you didn't pick up on the fact that he was being sarcastic, and now you don't know what he means that he told you he was being sarcastic? Yikes. Anyway, His video was uploaded December 26th. January 27th, as we come to this very Masonic ritual, 33 days, just like how the Mormon founder to the Mormon leader, Joseph Smith to Brigham Young, 33 years apart did they die. But Town Hall 33, this happened at a town hall, but more importantly, Masonry, federal, secrecy, order. I should have put police up there. I should have put false flag up there. I could have put a bunch of other things that have to do with Masonry up there that equal 33, but you get the point. Again, the Mormon religion created by Masons. What is the highest degree of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry? Is it 120, or excuse me, is it 33? Yeah, it is. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry 127, like Minneapolis, now like the attacker. See, this is from last night's post before they gave us the name of the attacker. And then we wake up in the morning and like, oh, we got the name of the attacker. His name equals 127 and his last name means to destroy peace. Oh, how perfect. Looks pretty symbolic. Why do they do this stuff to us that's really so obvious? Because they know nobody, for the most part, is questioning anything. They're not questioning anything. They're not looking into anything. They're like my sister. My sister's going to turn on NPR this morning and just let it program her. If I have a conversation with my sister, she's going to repeat back to me what she heard on NPR. I'll say, Jen, but I'm your family. I've been doing this research for 13 years that you think I should be in an insane asylum for. Can I share with you? No. Zach, you're not the authority. Zach, I told you, if this was important, you would have learned about it in school. That's my sister's mindset. Oh, right. You can't see that we went to 13 years of slave school, pledging to 13 stripes from the time we were little kids, learning about how great we were, the greatest nation we ever was, the freest nation there ever was, when none of this is true. We're not free at all. We're probably one of the least free nations in the world. Great. I guess if killing brown people in the name of lies to further the business interests of literally what is real fascism, which has been alive and well in the United States for way longer than Elon Musk getting in there and doing his little salute and puppet Trump. I guess if that's how we measure greatness, then yeah, I guess we are the greatest nation. I mean, never before has there been such an awesome military all across the world killing in the name of crony capitalism. That's everything. We're not a capitalist nation. We're a crony capitalism. Crony capitalistic nation is what we are. If you don't know what crony capitalism, look up what it is. It's when the ruling class favors certain businesses and helps them out while hurting others. Case in point, hey man, I would love to start a school right here in my community where it wouldn't even be in the name of money, really. I just love to teach, but it could be in the name of money too. Make a profit like private schools do, especially those Catholic ones all over the place that cost a fortune. Like they need any more money with that great palace at the Vatican. But again, the point is, if I want to set up a school, man, do you know how much red tape and cost and waiting for this and the government to get back to you on this? But hey, man, you're in the right club and you want to set up a new private school in town like the Catholic Church, man, probably bing, bang, bong, it's probably up. But before you know it, the government will probably help you even build it. And that's not even the best example, because just look at Walmart. Walmart gets their stores paid for the most part, the construction, the parking lot, the new off-ramp on the freeway, so it empties right into Walmart. The government takes care of that. Again, these big corporations are some of the biggest welfare queens in the world, and do they really need it? They're already multi-billionaires. They're the richest people in the world. They're showing you the Walmart CEOs making more money per hour than the average American makes in a whole year. But hey, regardless, the government's still going to help them out and pay for their next store and their next store. That's where we live. If you think that's the greatest country in the history of the world, maybe it's because you went to 13 years of slave school and you just believed all the lies you were told and you never looked into anything. Like this guy's name, who means the destroyer of peace. Or Gematria, which was introduced to you 13 years ago if you watch my channel. And again, how did I find it? By doing some research. Doing the things See, that's the thing about slave school. You can still learn some things from some good teachers. Maybe a teacher along the way that teaches you to think outside the box and encourages you to go out and read alternative sources and find more information and think for yourself and question authority. But by the way, the man who gave us that quote, Timothy Leary, even he was Jesuit educated, but still, that's my favorite Jesuit quote of all time. I live and die by that one. And it's a reminder, that there might have been some great Jesuits in history too. I think Timothy Leary, he might have been one. He might have been one. He might have also done some things that weren't so great. But anyway, by the way, Ilhan Omar's full name, isn't it weird? Her full name equals 325, like Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Have you read my book, Number Games, and how important this number was to the pandemic? Do you know about how important 325 was to the pandemic and all the printing of money? Because it was huge. It was huge. That guy of Scottish ancestry, Trump, he signed off on trillions of dollars of essentially profit for bankers, which caused hyperinflation with our money. Maybe hyperinflation is a slight exaggeration, but major inflation. Hyperinflation can be a lot worse. It can be like, you know how our bread used to cost, probably a nice loaf of bread probably about 5 years ago, $3-4. Now you want some Dave's crazy bread. It's like, damn, $10. This was $4 not that long ago. $10. Jesus. I want some organic pesto sauce. This thing used to cost $5. Now it's 12. Again, that's the kind of stuff that's happening here because all the printing of money. And remember, people are excited. Man, Trump's going to send us money. Again, if we were the greatest nation, people would have been like, well, no, don't send us any money. Just let me go back to work and get to my... I know what happens when you guys print all that money. Things get way more expensive. You're going to send me $1,000? How much more am I going to be spending on groceries in a few years? Am I spending $3,000 more dollars? Hey, did you guys see Trump got egg prices back down? Egg prices, why were they up in the first place? Because they were going around killing all the hens and all the places and coming up with all kinds of excuses. Now that's over and Trump's got egg prices down. So, hey, man, we might as well cheer for the Gestapo in the rating of the Fourth Amendment because a dozen eggs is finally back to a reasonable price. And, man, did you see gas is down 50 cents a gallon? I think I'm cool with the Gestapo and the end of the Fourth Amendment. That's all it took for me. Have you seen how much healthcare is up this year? Because I have to pay an extra $300 a month, and I don't think that's out of the ordinary. I think that's pretty much what we're all doing. So I have an extra $3,600 a year in healthcare expenses this year. It was horrible already last year. It's not like it was affordable last year. It's just an extra $3,600 this year. I don't drive that much. I think a lot of us are driving less and less because we're able to work from home. I'm probably going to save, I don't know, as little as I drive. I might save $100 this year on gasoline with prices down, pay $3,600 more in insurance. So, between the eggs, which I do like to eat a lot of, and gasoline, I know the way costs worked out this year and every other grocery expense is up too. Doesn't look so great. And I'm definitely not cheering for that as we have the Gestapo on the streets and everything else going on in this country. By the way, just for one more thing, in light of the Masonic ritual, 115 days after Ilhan Omar's 43rd birthday, when Masonic equals 115 and 43. Remember, the first time Trump took office, it was with the 115th Congress. The Apprentice is the first degree of Freemasonry. All the other ritualism with that. That was the 58th election where Trump announced from the 58-story Trump Tower, like Freemasonry equals 58, like secret society, like Epstein eventually died 58 days after his birthday. They killed Prince in a 58 ritual, as well as Vanity, as well as the Queen, but she actually died after Trump got out of office. But it's all related. Again, I didn't want to get into all of it. Queen of England, 58. Trump coming out to Queen, we are the champions. The Queen wears purple like Prince in Purple Rain, which equals 58. Prince, who had the song Black Donald Trump, sacrificed for Trump's 58th election, 201 days before the election. Just on and on and on. Trump having the convention in Cleveland, like the only split-term president, but right after LeBron won on the real King James's birthday. Again, King James, who died at age 58, who was a Freemason and a Rosicrucian, when again, Freemasonry equals 58, like Rosicrucian. Like this last election on November 5th, 115, was the anniversary of the Jesuits trying to kill King James, and this time Trump got 58% of the Electoral College, and then the first batch of Epstein files were released on the 58th day of the year. And then we got a cut in the video at 11:58:58 of the supposed self-deletion night and a million other things. Again, watch the interview that we did with Christian White yesterday. We'll get real into the Masonic Jesuit piece. Christian White interviewed me a couple weeks back. I wish this video would have got more views for his channel. If you guys haven't watched it, you should. He just had a great interview with Edward Griffin, I should say. But again, yeah, if you guys haven't given Christian White a sub, he deserves more subs. He's just trying to get as much information out in the world by interviewing people. I'm sure the more he interviews people and the more he learns, the more he'll do of his own videos and just putting his own information out in the world. But yeah, if you guys haven't given Christian White a sub, do. He'll be uploading a new video probably today or tomorrow of our latest interview. And we really get into again, just that Jesuit Masonic alliance that rules over this nation and keeps psyoping us and keeping people caught up in things like Epstein, which is a total psyop, you guys. You guys are so worried about Epstein and sex trafficking. Who's the real biggest sex trafficker of the world? The real biggest sexual abuser of the world? We know who it is. We know who it is. And all you George Floyd people, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. You guys remember? You guys remember everything they did with George Floyd? Catholic Church, Waynel Sexton. Do you remember these things? Should have talked about this yesterday. Oops, I spelled it wrong. It's not going to come up. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Oh, shoot. All these CIA plants like Tim Dillon. Another Catholic. It's amazing anybody watches that fat slum. Not funny at all. Not interesting at all. Let me see if I can pull up the right post. I want to remind you guys what they did after. Yeah, here we go. So George Floyd dies on the 225th day of his age. You can look it up. His birthday. He had the same birthday as Charlie Kirk. Same birthday as the anniversary of the Superior General being installed. The latest one, October 14th. Not to mention he's the 31st Superior General, just like Charlie Kirk got killed, synced with the Superior General at age 31. At least so we're told. He was put in an unmarked grave and taken away in an SUV with no blood trail anywhere. Saw that weird pump thing in his chest. Totally synced with Trump. Not to mention TPUSA has the same gematria as Freemasonry. His daddy helped build the 58-story Trump Tower. When Trump and Charlie shake hands, they do the Masonic handshake. Again, everyone getting taken by the psyops, by the secret societies because they don't recognize the symbols or the shakes or anything, somehow, some way, because they're deaf, dumb, and blind and programmed and controlled, and their mind is occupied by all that was put into it from slave school and this media and these authoritarians that they still believe way too much in. But anyway, again, George Floyd killed on the 225th day of his age, and then days later, the Catholic Church of Minnesota settles for sexual abuse of children for $22.5 million. Remember, Derek Chauvin got 22.5 years in prison. This 225 thing. 225 has to do with the Great Tribulation. A lot of things. Look at that. The Diocese of St. Cloud is what had to settle. 119, like George Floyd, like All-Seeing Eye, like Vatican. Again, here's George Floyd's birthday to his death on Memorial Day. And don't forget, that came out of the Civil War, which Lincoln blamed on the Jesuits. But it was just all this 225 stuff. And don't forget, the former Superior General had died that year on Cannonball Day. The day, let me show you. The day leaving 225 days left in the year, like Adolfo Nicholas, who died that day. Again, the former Superior General. Yeah, this number has to do with the Great Tribulation, 225. And it also has to do with the Trinitarian formula. You know, I went to Catholic school, even though I was Lutheran. My parents sent me to Catholic school for kindergarten and first grade, only because they had all daycare. And my parents work all day, so they could leave me there for 12 hours a day. And thankfully, all that worked at that school were nuns. I don't remember any men there. And I had the sweetest nuns. So understand, I don't hate Catholics. Again, I had the best kindergarten and first grade teachers a child could ever have because they were just the sweetest little nuns. And I still remember them to this day. Miss Jenny was my kindergarten teacher, and Miss Bird was my first grade teacher. And now my daughter, she just loves birds too. I feel like there's something about that. But anyway, we did the Trinitarian formula all the time. We would go to church for part of the day. We'd go to church and we'd do we'd put our hand in the holy water. And as a kid, I thought holy water tasted good. So I'd always actually suck on my fingers. And I remember the nurse be like, don't do that. But I couldn't help it. I felt like they were putting sugar in the water. It was good. So anyway, you go in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Again, that Trinitarian formula, 225, go figure. But yeah, and by the way, they say a lot of these Catholics that, diddle children, they say a lot of them do weird things like, pray in Latin while they're violating children. Again, I'm glad my parents sent me to a Catholic school where only women worked. You never know what might have happened had there been some men there. I'd encourage all parents, research if any men work at those Catholic schools. You probably don't want to send them there. A lot of people are getting touched. And their names aren't Jeffrey Epstein. But yeah, this is what's going on in this nation. And don't forget, the media gave you the story about Waynel Sexton, who remembered what a sweet kid George Floyd was. Waynel Sexton, remember? It was like, we were talking about this at the time. We're like, can you believe this? Can you believe this? Waynel Sexton, right after the sexual abuse story, where Waynel Sexton's making the rounds on the news. Oh, he was just the sweetest boy. Let me tell you, I'm Waynel Sexton. This is what's going on in this nation, you guys. This is what's going on. And all the ritualisms by the numbers. What's the fourth book of the Bible called? Is it Numbers? By the way, Bible equals 33, the common belief that Jesus died at 33. But yeah, Numbers. Yesterday, January 27th, the day all this happened, yesterday had a date numerology of 2. And if you wonder how you get that, you take the date, 1/27, 2026, and you add it all up. 1 + 2 + 7 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 20. And what's 20 in numerology? 2 plus 0 is 2. So yesterday was a 2. If you were born yesterday, your life number is assigned as 2. What does the media give us on the 2 date? So what they do every day. Initial DHS report says 2 officers fired during Alex Pretty encounter. And this is the second killing by ICE agents in Minneapolis. You see how they do it? Day after day. And then you share this with people. And some of them are like, that is so dumb. Numerology? I mean, there's infinite ways to connect numbers. But no, yesterday was a 2 date. And again, the news gave you. Remember when they arrested the 5-year-old? Here, let me show you the 5-year-old story. Remember that? Can you guess what the date numerology was on the 5-year-old story? Can you guess what the date numerology was when the headline was that they got the 5-year-old? Can you guess? Can you guess? I'll give you one guess. ICE detains 5-year-old Minneapolis boy. Well, this was January 21st, 2026. 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. How about that? On the 5-date numerology, they detained a 5-year-old. His name is Liam Coneo Ramos, 64 like ICE, like kill. This is what goes on every day, you guys. And again, it's not to say that there's not an element of truth to the propaganda, but realize what they're doing. They're putting fire. Not fire. They're putting fuel on a fire. And they know this is going to make people double down on their sides. And this is the problem with being in political parties. Like, look at the right wing right now. You got people calling out the right wing. Listen to these right wingers. They're against the Second Amendment now. And by the way, is there any proof that Alex Pretty had a gun? I mean, the whole thing's a psychological operation. Where's any footage of this guy carrying a gun? I mean, they keep hearing about he had a gun. Everybody on the right's like, he brought a gun in front of ICE, man. He was asking for it. Where's any proof of anything, first of all? But I mean, nothing they put out shows that this man had a gun. When the story first broke, they made it sound like this guy had his gun out. None of that's out there. But you just see, because people are in political parties, they just start going against what they're actually supposed to be about. I mean, the Republican Party is supposed to be the 2A party. Don't forget, every time they put one of these NRA heads in there, they're Jesuit educated. Yeah, the NRA might as well just be called the Jesuit. I don't know. The NRA is not really here to protect the Second Amendment either. They always side with these politicians to infringe and undermine the Second Amendment. But yeah, it's another Jesuit-controlled thing, the NRA. Absolutely. And again, because they control the whole nation, which is what a lot of you guys can't get through here. No, it's the small hats. No, it's not. The small hats are controlled by the Jesuits. They run Israel too. If you think small hats run the world, how come they had the worst Pokedoke protocols? They got the worst of it. It was almost like a new, what was the Remembrance Day yesterday? It was almost like a new one of those. They had to get so many Pokedokes. They almost created a new one over there with these clot shots. But anyway, yeah, this is what goes on every day, you guys. Just news by the numbers. News by the numbers. All day, every day. All day, every day. And this time on 127, it's Anthony James Kazmierczak, whose name means destroyer of worlds, destroyer of peace. Anyway, I got to get back. Oh my God, my wife's like, what happened to 20 minutes? All right, I'm done. I got to wrap it up, you guys. Thanks to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who supports the work. Thank you to the super chatters. Shout out to Punk Rock 11. Yeah, Alex, 37-year-old like Renee Good again. ICE agent shooting, both equal 37, two 37-year-olds. Dale, thank you very much again, Dale. And shout out to Cashville Lady. I got to go. Actually, hold on. Let me show you the greatest thing in the world real quick. My sweet girl. Oh, my goodness. Come on. Come show the world. Come show the world greatness. Yes. What's with all these lights? Come on. Woo! What is with these big lights? Oh, yeah. That's my big beauty. You know, I used to not want to have a sweet child like this, even though I love children, because of the world that they are having to grow up in. But I realized if the world's ever going to become a better place, you got to raise some beautiful children with the right mindset. Again, these children, and even us, we do not deserve the world we are inheriting, and we're inheriting this world because we're not standing against evil. Again, the Masons do that black and white thing because it represents good and evil. If you're not standing against this tyranny, and a lot of you guys, you don't understand either. You're getting caught up in the psyops rather than going really against the tyranny. I don't see many people online right now talking about how they can violate the Fourth Amendment and just come into your place, the authority, the ones that want to have the guns while you don't have any. That's what you should be worried about and standing against. So anyway, sweet girl, we got to go. But thanks again, truth seekers. Appreciate everyone who hits the like and the share. Ruby, can you blow him a kiss? Can you do one of these? These people, there's people out there. Can we do one of these? Can we give them a bye-bye wave? Can we say goodbye? She's like, who are we talking to? Is Mr. Bird out there? Can we wave goodbye to Mr. Bird? She said, I don't know about all that, Dad. All right, anyways, just give her a few more months. She'll be talking. All right, until next time, Truth Seeker, have a good one.